We've been waiting all summer long for Donovan Mitchell to get traded to the New York Knicks. Everyone was convinced it was just a matter of time until New York sweetened the offer a little bit more to get the deal done, which gave enough time for the Cleveland Cavaliers to swoop in, offer up some young talent, a bunch of picks, and help transform the Cavaliers into a very real threat in the Eastern Conference. When going through the footage and the stats, I realized that Collin Sexton is similar to Donovan Mitchell in many ways, plus he's even faster than Mitchell and slightly more explosive. But the Cavs needed someone more polished with experience deep in the playoffs to pair with this talented but young squad, and he should fit in perfectly. I studied a number of possessions where Darius Garland and Sexton were involved to get a sense of how Mitchell can fit in as a true shooting guard on this team. And I suspect the beginning of the season might be a little bit rough as Garland and Mitchell figure out how to balance main ball handling duties between them. Positionally, I'd like to see them both out top on the perimeter, daring their defenders to help off and give their men an opening. Notice where Garland is as Sexton gets a step-up screen from Jarrett Allen. They cut Evan Mobley through, and the defense leaves the pass wide open for Garland. If this were Mitchell, this shot probably goes in. This time, it's Garland bringing it up, with Sexton on the opposite wing up with him. I love the two-man game they get going once the initial middle penetration happens. I'd expect the defense to be unable to handle this kind of attack, and Mitchell won't miss this three that badly. This got me excited as we see the two of them interact out top with a quick handoff before Allen sets the ball screen. Mitchell will hopefully get used to cutting like Sexton does here, as Garland will find him with sweet bounce passes that will lead to easy jumpers in the lane. Here's a simple but effective action as Sexton slips the ball screen, lures his man to hedge on Garland, and then pops open to the left wing for a catch-and-shoot jumper. I'm sure we'll see this one often. On offense, Garland and Mitchell can be interchangeable, similar to how the Cavs use Garland and Sexton. On this double ball screen, it wouldn't be hard to picture Mitchell getting to the dotted line and then kicking to Garland open in the corner because his man had to bump down on Allen. Or just flip these and have Garland kicking to Mitchell, which I suspect will be the preferred alignment. This play caught my eye, simple but effective, as the handoff from Garland to Mitchell would scare the defense immediately. You can see Mobley setting a screen for the cutting Garland, and if the timing was changed a little, I could easily see Mitchell getting to the paint and kicking it to him wide open in the corner. I like how they utilize Allen in the high post. Watch the split screen after the ball's entered to the elbow. It turns into a pitch and roll, and with the threat of Allen in the paint, expect to see Mitchell get plenty of easy looks like this one. They ran this split action a lot out of the high post, this time with Mobley as their facilitator, and though the defense switched this to thwart the attack, a nice backdoor cut gets the ball in the lane, and picture Mitchell getting set up by Garland at point-blank range. It's hard to figure out how well this pairing in the backcourt will work until we see them in the actual games. And you can be part of the experience in person by using SeatGeek, the best app to find tickets to sporting events, concerts, and the theater. Imagine getting to the arena early to watch Donovan Mitchell work his magic up close. SeatGeek can help you find the best available tickets, and they even grade the price to let you know if you're getting a good deal or not. Best of all, if you use my code BBALL, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So get in the game with SeatGeek and you'll be able to realize the Cavs are a bit light on shooters on their roster. So spacing is going to be a big issue when they've got Mobley and Allen out there together. But this split action could help them get Mitchell open for easier looks if the defense screws up their switch as poorly as the Knicks did here. And if the Cavs want to stretch these two guys out on opposite sides of the court, I like the pistol action with the pin down and the handoff to Sexton, who can then get into the middle with a strong right hand, and picture Mitchell finishing this shot or kicking it to the absolutely wide open Garland in the corner. Next, I went through some Jazz footage to see how they got Mitchell some of his good shots in case they want to steal from Quinn Snyder's playbook. Check the quick handoff to allow an attack with Mitchell's strong hand, but also I dig the Gobert flare screen for Bogdanovich. Picture Garland in this role. Lovely inside hand finish, but there's a kick to the corner as well. Here's a similar action as they hand off into flare screen, but it's really to get the pin down for Mitchell coming out of the left corner. Imagine Jarrett Allen in the Gobert role, and Mitchell again able to go to his right. They get the acrobatic layup. Here's that same play again, but once they catch Middleton going under the screen, Mitchell flares, Gobert flips it, and they've got a wide open triple from the left wing. It doesn't have to get too complicated. Out of horns, a simple pass back to ball screen can enable Mitchell to get going downhill, and with the corners filled with shooters, it's hard to help. The Jazz really like the flare cuts from Mitchell, and I expect he's going to tell Coach Bickerstaff to add more of these into the offense, as it's a good way to catch a defense focused on him off guard. This play works because they send the cutter through the lane where everyone thinks the action is going, but O'Neal never intends to hit Bogdanovich, waiting for Mitchell to get open off the flare. Here's a set where it wouldn't be hard to imagine Garland in the Conley role. As the inside ball screen leads to a swing, Conley collapses the defense to the middle, and Mitchell is great at attacking closeouts and getting all the way to the hole. Finally, this is my favorite play as we get a little triangle offense going. On the handoff, watch Whiteside slip underneath Mitchell for the pass. The blind pig action forces a switch as Mitchell can get going downhill immediately on the shot fake, and there's no hope to stop him. Of course, defensively, there are issues with this backcourt. An aggressive scoring guard like Jalen Brunson was able to beat Mitchell into the lane for pull-ups and then catch him foolishly gambling for the pass where he couldn't recover and hope someone else would help him out. Mitchell tends to do the bare minimum on closeouts, hoping the man will keep the ball moving, but Dinwiddie shows the perils of trying to step slide instead of turning and running. While he had to do so much work on the offensive end, he didn't have much energy left for defense. It might be similar to his role in Cleveland though, so watch for teams to target him in the pick and roll. The one thing he can't control is his height, and it seems as though his contests of three-point shots don't cause much disruption of the shooter because he just can't challenge in the air high enough to influence the shot. If he's forced to defend bigger guards, they'll be able to get in the lane and shoot right over him, and if he's got to close out to a shooter to contest, I fear those shots will go in fairly regularly. As for Garland, I like his energy on defense, but he too suffers from a shorter stature that bears itself out on closeouts to three-point shots. In order to affect a shot by challenging in the air, you've got to make the shooter uncomfortable. Convince him he's got to rush or his shot will get blocked. And with Garland, that fear just doesn't exist at 6'1". And the Cavs defense will have to scramble more to support him if he gets caught defending a post-up, since shooting over him is a very viable option and simply not much he can do about it. And with Mitchell's defensive struggles, it's going to put a lot of pressure on their two front-court big men to cover for their lapses. And you couldn't pick two better front-court defenders in the league than Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Interestingly, as far as block shots go, neither Allen or Mobley get a ton of them from rotating to help a guard who had gotten beat off the dribble. However, their mere presence near the basket serves to cause misses. As Allen is so tall and so long, you can see how offensive players can't fathom he'll get to their shots, and he routinely swats them away into misses. Mobley is even more mobile and might even be more aggressive defensively, and surely these two can cover for enough miscues by their backcourt to keep them competitive. With the offensive firepower, it might be enough to keep them in games until very late, where Mitchell can assume the role of hero. While Colin Sexton is a bad man, the Cavs needed a better version of him to step in and drag them to the next level. Let's not forget they're going to add Ricky Rubio to the roster in January. And if Caris LeVert can get consistent with his scoring and stay healthy, the Cavs will cause problems for the teams above them in the East. This move doesn't get them to the promised land, but it inches them a lot closer.